You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
You are very welcome. I am Ahonu, and this is my lovely Aingeal Rose. And we are here today answering questions that people have raised on our new World of Empowerment platform, which we encourage you to join. And if you email us or go on our website, worldofempowerment.com, you'll find your own personal private invitation link right there. And we would encourage you to do that. So the kinds of questions we're going to ask and answer today in the Akashic Records are about blood. We've been asked about blood, and
well, specifically, what does Source think about blood transfusions?
Blood transfusions, indeed, and blood donations, yes. And we're going to ask about the world economy, because people have been asking about that also, and the origin of fear. And then we've got another question about what does it take to be sovereign. We're going to find out about that in the physical, mental, emotional, and physical space. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And then we're going to ask about the current state of the world. So let's begin.
So the first thing I want to say after saying the prayers, I'm looking at a lot of crystal light this time, which I've never seen before. So when I say crystal, it's not white, it's crystal clear, and it looks like it just has little rainbow filaments going through it. And I don't really know the implications of that right now, just that it's a color that I haven't actually seen before. How about you? Anything?
Yeah, I got a vision, I suppose you could call it, of eyes as stars and stars as eyes. It's the strangest thing, but it's like, I'm sure we'll find out more about that as we proceed. But I remember it reminded me that many times before when you looked into the universe, I think the question was about what is the universe or something, and you saw, what is God? That's right, God? What is God? And you saw
billions of eyes.
Billions and billions of eyes. Now I didn't see billions of eyes, but I just saw that it's like as if I was looking into a night sky and seeing all the stars, but they were eyes. And then seeing them as eyes, I saw them as stars. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go to our first question, which is, what is Source's opinion about donating blood?
All right. Hang on. Interesting. I just saw a lot of blue light. Interesting. Okay. So hang on. Well, interestingly, I think the reason I'm seeing the blue light is because it's telling me that on an oxygen level, okay, that blood is filled with blue light, or it's filled with oxygen, and that it doesn't really have a problem with donating blood because it says you're all one. And if you can share something with a person that'll actually help them heal, or donate a type of enriched oxygen to them, which is what's in the blood, it doesn't really have it doesn't have a problem with it. It doesn't look at it like it's a bad thing to do. In other words, it says, well, you're all in relationship with each other, so why wouldn't you give something that would help another? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, some of the fears we've all had about that, I think, and the reason for the question is, would that person take on imprints of you? And it's basically saying no, that we have to consider that blood is basically a life-giving essence that's filled with iron and oxygen, and it flows in and out continually. So don't get hung up on the imprinting thing, is what it's saying, okay? It's not the same as if you donate an organ, for example, because organs have years of history in the cells, where blood looks like it's a different fluid altogether, is what it seems to be saying. And that it's like a river that's moving, that's filled with nourishment. So if it's to help another one of your fellow man, no problem.
All right, that's interesting. Good, okay. Are all blood donations used for helping people who need it? And perhaps we should give a little bit of a background to this question, where it came from, because the person who was asking was concerned that the blood that is donated may be used for like blood sacrifices or for negative agenda. That's the origin of the question.
Yeah, okay, hang on. It says 3/4 of it is used for good purposes, and it would venture to say that another portion of it could be used for what it's calling vampiric activities. In other words, what seems to be saying, you do have vampiric people in the world, and those people could be in those particular fields. So, but it's saying like 1/4 of it perhaps is not used for what it's meant to be used for.
But as an addition to that question, then, should that preclude somebody from donating blood because some of it may possibly be used for vampire activities?
I don't think so. It says especially if you make an intention before you give blood about where you want your blood to go and how you want it to be used, because your intention is very powerful. And it wouldn't stop somebody from giving blood if it's going to save a life, for example. Okay.
Okay.
I feel like it's saying it's unfortunate that there are beings like that in our world, but it's just a fact. And you can't go living your life under the worry that, some portion of what you donate might not get to because most of it does go where it's supposed to go.
Right. Yeah. I suppose the same thing could be said, like if you were to donate clothes, they may end up going to a soldier who's out to kill other people, for example. I mean, who knows really what you donate? In other words, you're handing it over.
Yeah, I think really this question is based on energies and imprinting.
Yeah.
And it basically says it's not the same as an organ, because an organ, has the person's history in the cells. It's solid. It's different. It's been stationary in a body for X amount of years. So it's not as purified, let's say, as blood can be. Even though there's blood that's toxic, of course. But then that wouldn't make it into a donation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, next question. What does Source have to say about the world economy right now?
Okay, hang on. Well, the first thing it would say is it's in a big state of flux, and this is worldwide. Okay, like it all looks like it's all been thrown up in the air, and we'll see where it lands, okay? Because there's lots of moving and changing. There's lots of government changes all around the world. The whole thing's up for grabs at this stage, so hang on. So you're gonna see a lot of changes in the future, and I do think that there are things that are being worked on to bring more stability to the world, but that's some years away yet, actually. Okay, so you're gonna see a drama about it for a while. You'll see things rise and fall, new things coming up that they'll try that might fail and not actually be what people think. But I feel like what Source is saying is you can expect instability in the world in general over the next 10 years. That the world is shifting and it's changing, and energies are moving, and governments are falling, and new things are being discovered. New systems are going to be put in place, but they're not ready yet. But it's basically saying you can expect instability. And what that means to me when I look at this is things fluctuating, up, rises and falls and rises and falls. And so it's basically saying if you're going to try to rely on being safe and protected and stable, that's not really what it's asking us to do. It's asking us to be flexible and to be take care of yourself. It's not telling you to build up arms or not to worry about being stable where you are or secure where you are. Just be flexible, take care of yourself. Do have some stores, but I'm not really seeing any sort of, I think you'll see changes in the weather and in the earth. But those are due to cycles that are going on with the sun. And you're going to have to learn to flow with how the earth changes. So I feel like I'm looking at a wave, the wave that's fluctuating and moving and changing. And we might see some surprises through all this, where somebody might have the most dire predictions, but then all of a sudden you'll get a surprise about something positive, So we can't say that it's going to be all downhill for everybody. It just looks like it's fluctuating and it's changing, and there'll be new energies coming in, new things to adjust to. So the main thing is it's saying be practical with yourself. Don't try to hoard. Don't try to stay secure the way things are, because it's not going to happen. So learn to flow, learn to change. Be watchful. Just be watchful. Because some of this is going to be really interesting. Okay?
Okay. So the next question in some way follows on from that. It's about the state of the world. Now, you did outline mostly, I suppose, economic type of things. Can you give us an outline in general of what may be happening spiritually?
Okay. Well, we are headed to a new world. And when I say that, I still feel like there's a lot of time for that to happen. But when I say a new world, I actually feel like I'm looking at a new earth. I'm looking at changes in the earth. I'm looking at brightness. It looks like our old history will come back into the public, so people will see the history of ourselves. I'm looking at more maturity in the world in general, in terms of people waking up and being willing to learn the truth about our history and ourselves as souls. So I think we are headed toward a new earth. There's still a lot of clearing out to do. So the spiritual part actually feels positive, because I feel like the sun is having a lot to do with what happens to people in terms of how it's changing, how it's acting upon people energetically, what it's doing to their brains. But this feels like it's all meant to be. It's timed. This is all a timing thing, okay? And each time this happens, each time the earth goes through shifts like this, the result is actually species and beings who are more able to be more enlightened. So it feels positive and bright to me, even though the growing pains of it aren't necessarily all going to be fun in the meantime. But the purpose of it seems to make a lighter world, a brighter world, a more enlightened world, a more cooperative world, a more loving world, where we grow up more, we become more mature as people. And I mean that in every way, okay? More mature in how we are to each other, more mature in our decisions, more mature in what we decide to do with our lives. There used to be more forethought, more awareness on how it'll affect the world in general. But there's still clearing out. There's a big chunk, showing me a big dark chunk of old solidified people and beliefs that still have to be gone.
Okay.
And that's going to take a while.
Okay. All right. Our last question is about sovereignty. What does it mean to be sovereign, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually?
Source would use the word sovereign the same as mature. Okay? So physically sovereign basically really has to do with the health of your physical body. Learning that you can heal yourself, inventing ways that are holistic to help the body heal, to help it actually stop aging, to help it reverse illnesses. And this is in the process too. Okay, that's also going to take a while. I'm looking at least 5 or 6 years before anything really comes out about that. But we certainly are heading toward techniques, technologies, and knowledge about our bodies, things that we haven't discovered yet that will make us realize how powerful the body is and secrets that it has inside of it that we haven't accessed yet. In other words, the ability to self-regulate itself, to heal itself, to actually correct problems. I think there's keys inside the body that we haven't discovered yet, that will be discovered. And then there'll be some technologies built around that. So physically sovereign means, that the body is seen as a more divine invention than we see it. And it also has the potential to change. Like what I'm seeing is the brain has the ability to change. The DNA has the ability to change. It's not locked in to a finite system like we think. Okay? So that stuff will come to light too.
Okay.
Mentally sovereign means that the quality of your thoughts are always looking to the higher level of things. They're not bogged down in negativity. You don't waste your time with that. You're not interested in that. Your thoughts are corrective. That's an interesting word, isn't it? Your thoughts are corrective. The things that you say are intended to correct and heal. Okay? Your mind is kind of aligned with higher information. So that has to do too with your brain's ability to receive information. But it's no longer interested or invested in any kind of negative or limiting thinking. It's moved out of that, okay? Emotionally sovereign. Basically, you've moved into the field of love. And that's the only emotion you have. And spiritually sovereign means that you know who you are as a divine being. You're in alignment with divine beings of the universe. Okay, but you yourself have activated your own divine being. Again, when I say that, I feel like I'm catapulted to this higher place of love. I'm only in this place of love where every thought, every emotion, every intention is based on, is it loving or not? Is it corrective or not? Does it support higher expansion? And all the other stuff is gone. There's no hanging on to the past. There's no lamenting over the past. You don't stay in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like you're in a present moment continually, and you're in that moment is filled with love and higher awareness and an understanding of yourself as a divine being.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to the end, unless we have any further questions or things you want to say.
No, just please forgive my voice. This happens every now and then where I can't talk very well. Don't know what's going on there, but I need a correction for that. Okay.
We will get that now
To be
shortly
continued.
in the physical.
Feedback is welcome.
Well, there's no weakness in terms of the knowledge coming forth from Aingeal Rose and the Akashic Records. So let's hear a quick review of what we've covered. First question about blood. Aingeal Rose saw crystal light initially and the rainbow filaments, and I had seen stars as eyes and eyes as stars. And then the question about donating blood was that she first saw blue light and that the oxygen levels in the blood was blue and what caused it to be blue. She said about us all being one, so donating blood is not a problem. We don't take on the negative imprint from a donor. Blood is a life-giving essence and is filled with nourishment and can be given with love and joy. Now, the second question was about the blood donations, whether it's used for good or evil. She said about 3/4 of blood donations are used for good and 1/4 used for vampire activities. She said about 3/4 of blood donations are used for good and about 1/4 used for vampire activities. So it makes sense to make the intention before donating that the blood is used for saving lives and for providing nourishment in a loving, wholesome way. Also, that you can't live your life worrying about what your blood donations will be used for. The next question was about the economy, and she said the economy is in a state of flux worldwide. Many governments are changing and many changes are happening with governments all around the world, many being efforts to bring more stability and many instability. But first we will witness much drama. Expect instability over the next 10 years. We are asked to be flexible and not to worry or go into fear about these changes, but just to be in the flow with Earth's changes as this wave passes through our creation. There will be many new things coming, but also much old stuff will be leaving.
Let's mention that word drama. When I said that, you'll see a lot of drama. You know, what I felt like Source just said is, remember, drama is theater, right? When you go to a movie, it's not real. It's just a movie theater, right? It's a picture. And then a lot of the stuff we're going to see go on is theater. Just to be aware of that.
Right.
Through this whole change
That's
that
a good point.
the Earth is going through.
Yeah, good point. So the next question was about the world, the state of the world. And we are headed into a new world, a new Earth. And we will see much brightness emerging. And our history will be revealed to us. And ourselves as souls will be cleared for all to see our true purpose. The results of this shift will allow more species to be enlightened. The purpose of all shifts is to allow us to grow up and be mature. That's right, to expand, and you use the word mature as sentient beings. And then the last question was about sovereignty. And she said that sovereignty means maturity on all levels. And specifically, this person wanted to know about sovereignty on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So on the physical, Aingeal Rose said that it was to do with the full health, the reversal of ages, etc. Aging. What did I say?
Ages.
The reversal of ages. Interesting, I should say that. Yes, the reversal of aging. And mentally, it means more knowledge, the revelation of secrets, the expansion of the mind, discovery of keys to awareness, the quality of thoughts, and our thoughts will be corrective. I found that quite fascinating. And our minds will be aligned with higher thinking. On the emotional level, sovereignty was about the growth of awareness. It was where we moved into a field of love and
And only love.
Only love, yes.
Emotionally.
It's the only emotion we will have, you said, which is also quite a prospect. Beautiful thing. Spiritually, it's to do with being aligned with our divinity, with divine beings and our own divinity, and we will be activating our own divine inner being. And then finally she said that we will become aware of the present moment as being filled with love. So
and that everything we do will stem from love.
Everything we do.
Every thought, every emotion. Our minds will expand, our being will expand. We'll have more greater awareness of who we are as divinity. Okay, so we kind of be moving out of this whole negative level that we've all been in for so long. Especially out of fear. There won't be any fear. Fear is just a result of insecurity, of feeling insecure, of feeling not safe.
Or separation from God.
Yeah, but once you know about your divine being and who it is and what it is, all that will disappear. Okay, we won't be so invested in having to stay stable. Okay, we'll allow ourselves to learn new things, open our minds. For some reason, when I said open our minds, I saw the whole frontal lobe opening up more, bigger vision, okay? And the reason we have fear is because we're much too limited in our perceptions of everything, really, period. And you can just say that, okay?
Okay. All right, that brings us to the end of our session today. We thank you for being with us. We're always grateful. If you have questions, please feel free to email us. You'll get us anytime at aingealrose@aingealrose.com, or on our websites there will be a place to connect and contact us at aingealrose.com, ahonu.com, or worldofempowerment.com. So until next time, blessings and thanks from myself, Ahonu, and from Aingeal Rose.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
You can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and on our website at worldofempowerment.com.
Don't miss an episode. Hit the subscribe button now.